War of the Worlds. Ah, my little friend, how did you stay hidden from me for so long? Based on the 1989 book The World of the Worlds, this movie tells the story of dock worker and failed father Ray Ferrier surviving in what seems to be the beginning of an alien invasion, with actors like Tom Cruise, who I can 100% guarantee you has not aged since the movie's 2005 release date. Tim Robbins, who did an amazing job here, man, really made me think he went crazy. And of course, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Morgan Freeman. And with a director like Steven Spielberg, it's really no wonder as to why I really like this movie. However, that's not to say there aren't things I don't like about it, especially the ending. And yes, I will be talking about the upcoming video game because it does look interesting. Now, I need to tell you this right now. This isn't a one-to-one of the book. In the book, the main character and his little brother are both in London when the alien invasion starts. And I've got to say, it's pretty interesting what the Arthur H.G. Wells was able to create here. And these alien pictures of the artwork look really amazing. It kind of reminded me a little bit of the Splatoon artwork with the whole squids versus the salmon run. You know, that's besides the point. Anyway, this is pretty interesting as this actually inspires the 2005 movie War of the Worlds, as well as the 1953 movie The War of the Worlds. That's a bit of a tongue twister, go ahead and say that. In that movie, American scientists try to find a way to stop the alien invasion. Now, I won't talk about the book or the 1953 movie, but I will reference them a bit because if I did talk about them, well, this video would be well over 1 hour long, and I'm not sure you guys want to hear me talk for well over an hour. And I mean, this video is pretty long as it is already. And I also, before you ask, will not talk about the anime. I know, I'm just as disappointed as you are. It's called War of the Worlds, Goliath, and well, you know, it's something that is anime, you know? So now I watched this with my boyfriend and our best friend, Jen, and I'm just gonna say this right now. I'm gonna be trying my very best to not be biased and stay as fair as possible to the movie while also making critiques, as I actually did enjoy this movie quite a bit until the very end, and there's a reason for it. Now, the story here for War of the Worlds is very simple. It's actually one that we've seen before, a man protecting his two children from an alien invasion in an effort to reunite them with his ex-wife. Now, I'm gonna say this right now, Ray Ferrier is not a good father. In the beginning, before the war, we're treated to sort of a glimpse as to how Ray is, and well, let's just say he is not father of the year material. For one, he doesn't really seem interested in being a dad and sort of comes off as a sort of college type immature guy. That's not to say he isn't trying, but moments where he doesn't even know his own daughter had a peanut allergy.
5-card stud, maybe a little blackjack.
I'm allergic to peanut butter.
Since when?
Birth.
Sort of shows just how offhand he is with his kids. In fact, if the story started sooner, I wouldn't be surprised if Ray wasn't present during his wife's labor. Like if they showed that part of the story, that part wouldn't really surprise me, as the way he's portrayed here in the very beginning, he just seems like someone who doesn't really care. Now, our story starts off with Ray, a dock worker, coming home and it being his turn to have the kids for a week, while his ex-wife Mary and her new husband Tim go to visit Mary's family in Boston. Now, I don't have kids, but this entire scene made me feel a bit sad for Ray, since I can only imagine how awkward and uncomfortable it is to have not only your ex-wife, but her new husband in your home. And this is what I mean, Ray doesn't really seem to care as much. His son doesn't even talk to him, and his daughter sort of acts a bit like fakeish. I don't know, to me it seemed a little, which I mean, I guess makes sense as they don't seem to take Ray as serious in terms of fatherly material. Ray himself doesn't even seem to mind, and he has two kids share the room, which I guess makes sense as his home is pretty small. And to show just how offhand he is, he just lets his daughter Rachel order anything to eat, which isn't really so much being a responsible father, as one would expect a father to sort of just make a meal for a child.
Where are you going?
Go to sleep. I work for a living.
What are we supposed to eat?
You know, order.
Or I don't know, maybe take them together to go out and eat Chinese food together or something.
Chinese food, no soul food here.
But this whole beginning arc just shows how offhand he is with the kids. Now, that's not to say the way that Ray is portrayed here in the beginning is bad, as this goes to show that how he changes from a sort of offhands father to someone who is willing to protect and help his two kids as being more impactful, as we are legit witnessing a man change and transform in front of us from someone who looks out for and cares for his children much more than what he really lets on. After a strange cloud thunderstorm knocks out all the electronics and machines, Ray walks towards the town alongside other people, and it's here where we're introduced to the first thing and contradiction about the aliens. See, when the aliens attack, they invade through the lightning, and then from that lightning, it'll hit specific points on the ground, and they'll enter their tripods that way. Well, hold on to this, because while this sounds really cool, later on around the end, it makes no sense, and it's actually a bit confusing and makes you wonder how this works considering the ending we get. It's from here we see the first tripod emerge and attack the citizens. Now, when I saw this scene, I thought they were censoring the blood by having people turn into literal dust. It wasn't until I later researched and realized this isn't dust. You see that laser that the aliens shoot is so hot that it legit burns people to ash. So yes, this isn't dust or dirt on Ray's face. It's the literal ash of people that have died in front of him. Oh my. With this context, as well as the seemingly impeding and overimposing presence of the tripods, do you see why I like this movie? The noises these aliens make is so deafening and otherworldly, it in a sense reminded me of SMT4's Ancient of Days. In that game's DLC, you fight the Ancient of Days, and it's not the fight itself, but the attention to detail like the noise it makes that makes it so overimposing and terrifying. If in War of the Worlds, the alien attack was instead a take us to your leaders or something like that, it wouldn't feel as menacing or scary because these otherworldly creatures are attacking us humans using English. You know, the language that almost all of planet Earth uses. To attack a planet with multiple languages and then these otherworldly aliens come and start talking English, that would have taken me out of the entire experience. So thankfully the aliens don't talk, they instead communicate through these loud, horrible voices, I want to say, or noises. Now, after all this, we also encounter one of the most annoying parts of the movie, and one that made me have some Avatar: The Last Airbender flashbacks, and it's the child actors. When there's moments like these in the movie,
Rachel, keep it down. Rachel, shut up, Rachel. You're freaking her out. Look, I'm driving. Do something.
do you see why I kind of get annoyed by it? And it's very annoying and often takes me out of the experience, but I get it. It's a traumatic event that's happening and both of the children are scared, but yeah, that was bad. Well, using a stolen car, they make their way to Mary's house and they realize that Mary has already left for Boston. It's not known when they left, but to be safe, Ray makes Rachel and Robbie sleep in the basement just for added security. Well, this was actually a very smart move, as after a very noisy night, Ray wakes up the next morning to realize that the loud noise they heard was actually a Boeing airplane that had crashed. As Ray investigates, he notices a reporter and her cameraman opening the airplane's food stash. The reporter goes on to say that this event isn't just happening in America, but it's all over the world. The aliens came in through the lightning and seemingly entered the tripods, which she theorizes that those tripods must have been there for quite a long time. Now, keep this in the back of your mind as well, because oh boy, does it become important later for a huge plot hole. Realizing there's nothing left for them at Mary's house, they leave and eventually come across a horde of people walking towards a ferry. Now here is where that amazing thing called the human greed sets in, as the people want them to stop and let them in. All of them. Every single person you see on here. This leads to a scuffle in which the mob attacks Ray and his children in an effort to steal the car, and in true GTA fashion, take my man's car, and the driver with a gun leaves, only for another person who picked up Ray's gun that he had dropped during the scuffle to shoot the driver and then steal the car from him. Now this scene goes to show that it doesn't matter what the context is, whether it's an alien invasion, a deadly virus, zombie invasion, or the Evangelion angel invasion, humanity is and will always be its own enemy. We humans are the only creatures to love so much that we are willing to also hate just as equally to kill. I mean, look at something that happened recently. COVID, for as scary it is, showed that we really aren't willing to cooperate with one another. For one person that's willing to act in the interest of others, there are 10 ready to take, but never give. It's a messed up way that we humans sadly are. When COVID started, I was stuck on the nursing wing during the pandemic. I remember hoarding nursing supplies for me and the other nurses because we had little to no supplies. Things like gloves, alcohol, and even hand sanitizers were scarce, to the point that I remember the DNS telling me to make sure that when it comes to patients' blood, because of how low we were with things like bleach or disinfectant, we were basically to use water and rags and to just make sure to clean it up correctly, which is kind of crazy because that's not how you properly clean up blood. I could get into a whole video about my medical training and stuff, but I mean, that's boring shit that I don't ever want to see again. But essentially, we had run so low on things like disinfectant, and common medical cleaning supplies had become scarce because of how low the actual supply was in the rest of the country. And here, it's no different. Ray and his children are actually ripped out of their car by the mob, and the car ends up getting damaged and more than likely won't work within a mile or two, and some random civilian actually died. And while the argument can be made that these people are scared, what did it gain? Absolutely nothing. The aliens attack and the ferry that all these people were walking towards gets destroyed. With all this happening, we see Ray change as a man and become someone who's more reliable and actually willing to defend his kids. He even wants to protect Rachel's innocence by having her do things like close her eyes or cover her ears so she doesn't witness the horror that the aliens do. So yeah, Ray as a character has for sure changed from what we saw in the beginning. While walking with the mob towards Boston, they witness that the army starts to attack the aliens with tanks and planes, and it's a scene where one of the weirdest things happened that I still don't know why, and my friend Jen told me that it was because the son Robbie was angry, which I can understand, but let me just say it. So basically, the son Robbie is very upset that the aliens came and attacked his home and essentially destroyed everything he ever loved. And I mean, who wouldn't? But what he does is he runs up the hill to join the army to attack the aliens? Or maybe he just really wanted to see the aliens get attacked? See, this part confused me so much because I honestly don't know what Robbie's plan here was. Like, what did Robbie think the army was going to do? Give him a gun and start shooting at aliens? And it's here where Ray makes the decision to let Robbie go, as Robbie says he needs to do this. I don't know what this is, but he has to do it, and then he runs towards the field. The same field that seconds later is blown up as the aliens completely destroy and wipe out the army. Running back to grab his daughter, they huddle up in a basement with the man whose name is Harlan Ogilvy, played by Tim Robbins, who I've got to say did a superb job here portraying the crazy doomsday type individual. Harlan, much like Robbie, wants to attack the aliens, and there's even an entire scene where he's about to axe a tripod tracker arm, just as Ray stops him, having him think about his choice first. After they elude the alien tracker arm, we see the shadows of the aliens, and it's here where I did not like the fact that they showed us the aliens. Now, hear me out. There is a reason for this. See, my main thing is that I would have preferred if they let our imagination do the work as to how these creatures look. In the beginning, you're given a very small glimpse as to what they could possibly look like, and I loved it because there was a lot of mystery as to what this thing is that is piloting these tripods. A really good example is in the movie Bird Box, which I'll admit I loved and I watched with my father. We see only glimpses and shadows of the monsters or entities that attack our main character. And these scenes do wonder for the threat and possible danger they present. I mean, there's entire videos theorizing on what these things are. In fact, in the movie Bird Box, there is a character that draws an image of what he sees and they look terrifying. However, this isn't apparently what they actually look like, but what he draws is so scary that it just made my mind race as to what they could possibly be. There is videos on YouTube called schizophrenia art, and it's basically art of people with schizophrenia, and that art is so interesting to me that I would have loved if there was a scene like this in the movie. Like, there could have been a scene where Harlan Ogilvy sees an alien and we don't see it and he draws it to Ray what it looks like. That would have been an amazing way to portray what these aliens look like instead of actually showing us. And I know it sounds weird for me to say I like the art and what it looks like, but I mean, keep in mind I was a former nurse, and stuff like this is super interesting to me. Stuff like blood or people getting cut up really badly, I've seen so many times, and I know me saying it is really weird, and like I said, I could probably make an entire video about all this stuff, but I more than likely don't, because I don't do that stuff anymore. Anyways, I feel like this would have connected really well, as there's one point where our boy Harlan, the doomsday guy, goes crazy, and if he would have done something like draw what the aliens looked like and showed it to Ray, it would have portrayed just how crazy our man was going. Well, regardless, after this entire scene, they rest for a couple of days in the barn, and it's when we start to notice these strange red vines. And at first, I was confused and just thought this was like something the director added for like an effect, a weird red vine. That was until Harlan went crazy and called Ray over, and what I saw, oh my goodness, this scene right here made me realize just how hopeless the struggle to live was, as these creatures seemingly drain the blood of people, mix it with whatever liquid it is they use, and spray it into the air to make the planet more habitable for them. The red vine-like stuff has blood in it, and this is the land changing. Essentially, these aliens are terraforming Earth with blood to make it into a blood planet for them to live in. Holy shit. And do you see what I mean by when they showed the aliens, they kind of messed it up a little bit? Because I felt this could have been done amazingly if our boy Harlan here just went crazy and drew it all. And another thing, this entire scene reminded me of an ARG.
Oh my god, bro.
I know, you're gonna click off that video. Stay with me, I promise it'll make sense. The ARG is called Gemini Home Entertainment, and here, the skinwalkers use red vines, like veins, to capture and turn people into monsters. And I swear, you can watch all of the entire Gemini Home Entertainment videos, and it would connect extremely well to what is here. From the scene with the found you where the aliens find planet Earth, to the idea that aliens have undercover aliens among humans, to even this whole creepy alien shit going on in the country places where there aren't many people, which I can actually believe, as I remember my parents telling me when I was little that when they were kids, there would be some creepy shit going on within the countryside they lived in, and I could probably make an entire video on those stories they told me, but you know, that's far enough into the future. Gemini Home Entertainment fits so well with War of the Worlds, and I don't know if this connection has been made before by someone else, but this is what I thought of, and I legit paused the movie and showed my friend Jen the connections, and honestly, I probably seemed really crazy, like on some doomsday shit myself, connecting all these pieces to Gemini Home and War of the Worlds. And go do it right now. Pause the video, go watch Gemini Home, and look at the red vines and tell me that there's not a connection there. Like, this shit is crazy. Anyways, our man Harlan goes crazy and starts to dig a hole, saying crazy ramblings about digging their way out of this barn, and even says to dig to China.
Stop!
Oh, sorry. What I mean is, to the amazing heroes of the CCP.
China.
What fucking moron designed this?
Anyways, realizing that Harlan is making too much noise, Ray makes the choice to attack and kill Harlan to protect himself and his daughter. Well, it doesn't do much, as later on the aliens do find and capture his daughter with those long tracker-like things finding her, and it's here where we see the rest of the land and realize just how bad the situation is, as these red vines are covering the entire land, which begs the question, if it's this bad here, just how much worse is it in other parts of the country, and in that aspect, the world? I really like the creativity of Ray here as he grabs a grenade stash, and when he's pulled into the machine along with other survivors, before he's sucked into the alien chute, he's pulled out by the survivors and shows a soldier that he had actually disconnected the pins of the grenade stash, and it actually works. The alien sucks in the grenades, thus blowing it from the inside out. And see, the way these alien works is they always have a shield up. This is something that the reporter actually told Ray in the very beginning. So things like bombs, bullets, or missiles never actually hit the tripod itself. And while very, very risky, it's very much possible to destroy a tripod from the inside. In fact, later on when they're walking to Boston, they notice that many of the tripods are sort of disintegrating, and there's a reason for this. Trust me, I'll explain it much later, and it's really dumb. But what Ray notices is that one of the tripods appears and there's birds just landing on it, and this makes him realize that the shield is down. Ray quickly tells a soldier, who soon has his squad use javelin missiles to shoot and bring down the alien tripod. Now the soldiers surround the defeated tripod, and out of a tiny chute we see the hand of an alien, and this would have hit me much better if we didn't know what they looked like, but sadly we do, so you know, it's pretty obvious what these guys look like, so there's no surprise here. Now, if the movie ended here, I would have been extremely satisfied, as we know that humanity can fight back against these things, and there's hope, if a little, towards the battle for Earth. However, for some reason, the movie doesn't end here, and what I'm going to show you next and tell you next is so bad it ruined what was so great here. Are you ready for this? This is gonna be a doozy for you. So after the destruction of the tripod, Ray and Rachel finally make it to Mary's house, or her parents' house, and it's completely destroyed. Just kidding, it's perfectly fine. Mary's okay, her parents are fine, her new husband is definitely perfectly fine. Well, at least Robbie's dead, right? Nope, gotcha again. You see, Robbie here's alive. He's fine, his jacket's just a little, torn. He just put some duct tape on it, he'll be fine. Remember that large explosion that killed all those soldiers in fully tactical gear and those armored tanks? Well, you see, you're a bit blind, because if you just would have looked in the corner, there's your boy Robbie right there, just walking away off screen like nothing happened. Okay, fine, whatever. Everybody's okay, nobody died. So what about the aliens? They're still a threat, Eve. I mean, the aliens are attacking humanity, right? Nope. You see, my man Morgan Freeman comes in and explains that basically we humans have pathogens, aka bacteria or mitochondria or midichlorians, as my boy would say, and the aliens have no immunity to us, so they just died off. Even though, and are you ready for this? In the beginning, it was established that these aliens had their tripods underground for thousands of years. So you're telling me that these aliens didn't know about things like bacteria or pathogens? And look, I understand the argument that just because they're aliens and they have these advanced weapons doesn't mean they're smart and stuff like that. But you're telling me there aren't any alien scientists or somethings? And I know if we humans ever traveled to stars, we would make the deafening mistake of taking off our helmets. I understand that. But what about the sections where the land was terraforming into the vein red substance? That's just gone? And if these aliens didn't know about our pathogens, then why keep the tripods buried on Earth? Wouldn't they be covered in bacteria since it's underground? You know, where a ton of bacteria are, where fossils usually are. So I don't know what this ending was and why it was done this way. Because by that aspect, wouldn't these tripods be gone, since if there's bacteria that can just disintegrate these tripods, and that is what's happening here, and these tripods have been buried there for thousands of years, how are they perfectly fine? Like, I really want someone to explain this to me, because this lightning we see is not the tripod. This is the alien using the lightning to travel inside the tripod. So why is this tripod here if it's buried under Earth for a long time and been with bacteria for a long time? Wouldn't it just been dust by the time the aliens just teleport their way into it? And see, that's the thing. In the book, it ends the same way, but with the doubt that aliens are for sure not done, that they are coming back, and that we humans have to be ready. A sort of uncertainty and doubt about what the future holds. Something that people can relate to for the uncertainty of their future. But here, humans have been around for thousands of years, and these aliens never thought to study us once. Like, they clearly know about Earth's ecosystem, because these red vines are made to terraform and turn Earth into a red, like, blood world for them to walk around in. So they know something about Earth. I feel like the ending is just too safe and completely disregards what our main characters experienced. I'm not saying an ending like this can't exist. It very much can. The Mist shows the dangers of these nightmarish creatures, and when our main character David mercy kills everyone in his car, we're ready for him to die, only to see the military roll in, and the monster threat is seemingly contained in a scene that left many, including myself, shocked. But we see a sort of broken man as David yells, unable to cope with the tragedy of what he did and the loss of his child and friends. But here, we don't get that. In fact, everything is okay in the end. There is no shock and twist or uncertainty for the future and what it may bring. Just it's over and the alien threat is no more. And I feel like if they would have ended with Ray and his daughter showing up to the house, and then like it's destroyed and like the mother's dead and all that, I feel like it would have been a bit more of a better ending than this sort of happy, safe ending we have. I mean, my boy Robbie's back. I don't know how he survived this, but if someone can explain this to me, that would be really great. If you like this movie's ending, then maybe you can explain why you liked it, and I would be very much interested in reading these and seemingly just knowing what people think, because I understand the whole idea just because they're aliens doesn't necessarily have to mean they're smart, and I can agree with that. But the plot holes here just don't add up, because if that's the case, then the reason for the tripods being buried makes no sense, as that would mean they knew of Earth for thousands of years and they never once came down here to investigate us or our biology, or that we have bacteria or mitochondria or Star Wars' midichlorians, which they must know because they're terraforming the planet to make it habitable for them. So something's up here and I don't know what it is. Amazing movie, terrible ending. If you're gonna watch it and then don't even look at the ending because wow. Now, before the day I watched World of the Worlds, I didn't even know it existed. That was until my good friend Jen told me about it. And I gotta say, this movie was pretty good. The actors here, very, very good stuff, even though Rachel kind of bad in the beginning. And like I said, that ending, yeah, I don't know that, I don't know, man. Now, the video game War of the Worlds is interesting as it's seemingly a survivor horror game. I know. Hold on now. I know there's like 90,000 survivor horror games. Just, you know, hold on. This one's got co-op in it. So, you know, that's everybody relax. However, sadly, it's not available right now from what I've seen, but it does look good. It seems to take place after the alien attack, and I'm just gonna pretend that the alien invasion never ended due to bacteria and mitochondria, and it's instead still raging on. You know, the midichlorians didn't kill the aliens, and humanity learns how to fight back against the tripods, and the military is essentially more tactful about their approach. And from what I've read on the Steam page, it looks like there's going to be a very big versus mode where you and the aliens fight, and that sounds pretty cool. The tripods here look very big and scary and menacing, just like the movie. It's made by Flip Switch Games, whose last game was an emergency service simulator, and from the reviews from actual EMTs or people cosplaying as EMTs, which why would you do that? It seems to do its job really well, so I'm gonna keep an eye on this game because I'm not done with World of the Worlds, and there is also a tabletop version World of the Worlds game, so for all you collectors out there, go for it. And you know, I'm not gonna lie, this does look pretty nice. I wasn't told to promote World of the Worlds game. I'm not really sure if you would call this promoting. I just saw there was a game, so I wanted to talk about it. There isn't much I can talk about. This is going to be an early access game, and you guys know with early access, that's a bit of a gamble onto whether the game is finished or not. I have my own things to say about early access, but regardless. Anyways, I've been ChipCube, and now if you'll excuse me, I've got a bunker to go find because these aliens aren't taking away my memes. Now go on and check the game that's worth your time, an N64 classic that's a hidden gem from the past.